So hello all, we're going to understand what exactly the Ansible is and why do we require Ansible and how we going to implement Ansible in practical things. Okay, so we're going to understand all those things in this session. Okay, so this is the agenda of this session we're going to cover. So we're going to understand what is Ansible, why do we require Ansible, what is the major difference between Ansible as well as the Terraform, and what is playbook and why do we require playbook, and what is Ansible roles, collections, galaxy, what is inventory file, what is error handling, how do we handle the errors if we encounter during the execution of the task, and why do we require vault, everything. Okay, so we're going to see all those things, right? So we'll understand what is Ansible. So Ansible is an open source automation tool. So Ansible is an open source automation tool to control, manage, and configuration and deployment your application on the particular system to achieve all those things for multiple system. We will be using the automation tool called Ansible. So assume that you have a 50 of systems or the servers. All that servers needs to install or needs to have Apache software. Okay, so you can go and install each machine with Apache softwares or the server, so which would kill more time, right? So to overcome all those things, we'll be using the Ansible automation tool to achieve it one click by integrating or by mentioning all the host or the managed nodes or the servers of that machine's address. So just by mentioning the machine address in an inventory file, we can able to install just on it go. We're going to see all those things. Okay. So Ansible is the open source automation tool used for configuration and management and application deployment and task automation. So whatever the task we're going to do, it's a kind of a task, right? Installing the Apache on 50 servers. So it simplifies the IT operation, that is system admin operations, by allowing user to describe the desired states of their system in simple. So if they want to have that application or if they don't want that application, everything. So complete installation and installing, keeping the softwares up to date by making the restriction or by doing the system configuration or the application configuration. So everything can be controlled just by writing the Ansible playbook. Okay, so playbook is a kind of a file of an extension of YAML, that is YAML or YML, both are same, where we going to specify the number of tasks that needs to be executed on that particular machine where we have been targeting. Okay, so instead of visiting all 50 servers just by writing one file with installing Apache and getting started of two tasks, those two tasks get executed in all 50 servers without human intervention or without the visit of the server. Okay, sitting at one system, we can able to manage multiple servers or the machines. To do those things, we'll be using the Ansible. Okay, so human readable YAML, that is access function file, is also known as playbook. So Ansible does not require installation agent. So while using Ansible, so the control node or the machine which you are using to control all 50 servers or the machine, that is we call it as control node. Okay, so that is the your system or the system admin system, which should have Python as well as Ansible pre-already installed with prerequisite. Okay, so if they have on their local machine, they can able to control plenty of servers without having any agent getting installed priorly or prerequisitely on those machines. So assume that A wants to communicate with XYZ system means if A wants Python as well as Ansible, they can able to communicate with, or they can control, they can able to manage everything of XYZ system. So the XYZ system does not require to have any agents. So only their address is more than enough to take control of all those XYZ system from system A. Okay. So that is the specialty of the Ansible. So making it agentless, which reduce overhead and makes it easy to manage and wide variety of environment. Okay, so this is the features of Ansible. So why should we use Ansible? So easy to use. So since it's human readable language and it's straightforward, so anyone without having the practical knowledge, they can also be used this one. And it's easy to understand what they have written. And agentless architecture. So the remote system or the servers does not require to have agent to control all the operations. So only if they have secure shell or the key, they can able to. So that is Ansible will going to take care of all the work of the task. So without requiring additional software. Okay. So next is declarative syntax. So we will be going to define the task. So what needs to be done and then what needs to be done step by step. Okay. So that is why we call it as declarative syntax. And idempotency. So Ansible ensures tasks are idempotent, meaning running the same playbook. So you have written one playbook and you going to use the same playbook for all 50 machines of the servers. So without any modification. So you don't require to modify. So if you want Apache to be installed on all your 50 machines means writing one playbook is more than enough to get installed and configure all the Apache requirements. Okay, so that is why we call it as idempotency and extensive integration. So you can able to use Ansible in cloud infrastructure, networking automation, IoT things, everywhere we can use to do automation. Okay, so that is what they are mentioned here, automation things. And we're going to see, we just understand why do we what is Ansible and some basic features of Ansible. So why should we use or why should we adopt Ansible tool? So we just understood, right? So Ansible it's an automation tool. So where all we can able to do automation and what automation can be achieved using Ansible. We just understand. So now we're going to see what is the major difference between the Ansible as well as Terraform. So while comparing Ansible as well as Terraform, we use Terraform for provisioning the infrastructures. That is creating RDS or the database, creating network infrastructure, creating servers, or creating networks. For those things, we will be using the Terraform. Whereas when it comes to Ansible, primarily they going to use it for provisioning, sorry, for configuring and managing your application over the provisioned infrastructure that is already existing. So the servers of the machine should already exist. On that case, we can use Ansible to install the softwares on that machine. For that purpose, we will be using. So Ansible and Terraform both are popular tools for managing the infrastructures, but they serve different purpose and have distinct features. Okay, so purpose we going to. So in Terraform, primarily an infrastructure as a code, I just mentioned, right? So primarily they are into provisioning the infrastructure, focused on provisioning and managing the infrastructure across the cloud providers. So it's not restricted to only AWS. They can use it for multi-cloud purpose. Okay, Terraform is ideal for setting up and tearing down. So we can able to create and we can able to delete the infrastructure and we can able to update the infrastructure as we require. When it comes to Ansible, more of configuration management and orchestration used to manage the configuration of existing infrastructures and deploy software. So I just mentioned, right? So why do we require Ansible? For doing all the configuration related task and installation task and deployment of your applications. For all those things, we'll be using the Ansible. Okay, so updating the resource only after they are reprovisioned. Already, the resource or the infrastructure should be available to perform your Ansible things. Okay, and also we can use Ansible for provisioning the infrastructure also. So not only they are limited to configuration management, they are also used in provisioning the infrastructure too. So what is declarative procedural approach? So declarative in the sense we going to declare each and everything. So one after the other, what should be done and what after should be done. Same thing. So procedural. So we used to follow some procedure, right? So I need to create server. There I need to. So sorry. Initially I need to establish my private network. Inside my private network, I need to build my firewall. Inside the firewall, I need to build my resource or the infrastructure, that is server, database, everything. So both are same, but in Terraform we will be writing inside the Terraform file, that is .df. But in Ansible we will be writing all the tasks inside the playbook, that is in the format of YAML. Okay, next is state management. So state management in a sense, so Terraform has very unique feature where they're going to store all the cache, whatever they perform or the whatever the activity the Terraform has already executed. That is, if I have written code for creating RDS-EC2 and the security group means in machine one, so it keeps the state that machine one already wants this infrastructure like that. So again, if I go and run that things, what exactly it will go into happens? It will says that all the already the infrastructure which is provisioned or exist, there is nothing to update or do changes since your Terraform file has same content like that it will grow. So for to keep those data, we will be using the state file. That is, it has inbuilt feature. So when it comes to Ansible, so there is nothing called staging or the state file for maintaining the infrastructure. So instead, we need to use to achieve the state file feature. We need to use some specific words and the unique things. On that case, we can able to do that. Okay. And provision. So provisioning and configuration management, I just mentioned, right? So Terraform is primarily used for provisioning the infrastructure, whereas Ansible is used for configuring the applications of the softwares. And idempotence, that is also quite similar. And the language is in that, so it's both are will be in Terraform or will be using the Archicorp's configuration language, that is HCL, Archicorp configuration language, whereas in Ansible we will be using in the form of YAML. Okay, so use case. So use case and provisioning configuration, everything is same. You can just see that. And when should be used what? Okay, so if you are using, so if your organization is more into the provisioning the infrastructure, upgrading the infrastructure and maintaining the infrastructure means, if you are only doing the infrastructure related work means you can directly dive into Terraform. So you can learn Terraform, even both are quite easy. Just if you spend 10 to 15 days is more than enough to be perfect in particular tool. Okay, so when it comes to Ansible, so if your organization is more into both provisioning the infrastructure, managing the infrastructure's application, deploying the application complete means, so if you on that case just go with Ansible. So you don't require to learn both the language on that case. So since Ansible can be used for provisioning the infrastructure and configuring your system configuration, managing the application, deploying the softwares, everything. So all in one can be available. So in that case, you can go with Ansible. So in Ansible, we just saw there is something called playbook written in the format of YAML. Okay, right. So what exactly the Ansible playbook? So the file, that is the playbook.yaml file, that defines the set of instructions for automating the task. So assume that I will be writing some file. Inside that file I will write some task. Okay, so I need to install Python, or I need to install Apache server on that particular machine. That is 50 machines or 2 machines, irrespective of this. Okay, so if I write that script once, I can keep it as apache.yaml. That is, I will name my playbook as apache.yaml or YAML. Okay, and I can reuse that whenever I require or whenever I need to install the Apache or the Python on any of the machines. Okay, so it's not like that. So if you have written code for Ubuntu, you can reuse that code or the file for all the Ubuntu servers. Or if you have written it for Windows, you can make use of all for Windows. That is, same playbook can be used for all Windows servers like that. Okay. So for automation task on one or more managed host. Here managed host is nothing but your remote servers of the machine, and we call it as control node is nothing but local machine where we going to write our Ansible playbook, okay, or the instructions what needs to be happened over the remote, that is managed host. So it's a core way to express automation workflows in Ansible and providing the structured human readable format to describe complex setup. So we'll be writing different tasks to perform, and we're going to name each task. So what exactly the task is going to do, and we'll be providing each and every infrastructure in this structured manner, that is where human can able to understand easily. So if I have written something means the other person can able to read that, so without any knowledge he can able to crack that, so what exactly the task is all about. Okay, so configuring, and I just mentioned, right, human readable syntax and task organization. So in playbook, initially we will be writing the place, that is in which or in what or where, that is where we should run this task, that is installing the I just instructed or I just write the script, so install Apache 2. Okay, and started once it is installed means, so there is no main, so I just written the script to install where it should be installed. So I should mention initially, that is play, define the target host and map them to a set of tasks. So I need to define where the task, where my task should be executed. Okay, only after that what task need to be executed and what state should be performed, that will be mentioned under the task. Okay, so modularity with roles and variables, we're going to see all those in future slides. Just ignore this one. So this is the sample code or the simple code of playbook. Okay, so inside your playbook, uh, you can able to see the code like this, and just mention. So you might be wondering that why do we have these hyphens? Okay, so this represent the Ansible book, okay, or the Ansible place or the file. Okay, so under that I will be mentioning the task, what exactly your Ansible file is doing. So we ensure Apache is installed. So I am writing to ensure Apache is installed on the targeted machine and running successfully. Okay, so host, I just mentioned right here, we need to mention the target machines. So where the task should be executed, I will be mentioning here host. So under web servers. So web servers in the sense you have you wanted to deploy your web application in 50 servers. Assume that just you wanted to deploy in 50 servers means, so you need to have Apache server software get installed all, sorry, in all 50 servers or the 50 machines. So you cannot go and install all the right. So here I have just created the variable called web server. Okay, so I will be mentioning my host or the remote servers credential or the access ID in my inventory file. Okay, so this is the inventory file where I going to associate with my playbook. Okay, so what exactly here happening means, so if you have 50 servers, it should require to have Apache software. Okay, so which doesn't have, you need to install it on all your 50 servers. So you going to mention their public IP address. Okay, so in before mentioning here, so we need to have passwordless authentication. So because if we have that password authentication means, so their own, we can, though we can able to perform automation, but some attentions need to be performed. So to overcome those things, so initially I need to make passwordless authentication for all 50 servers. It's a simple code. I'm going to show you in future slides. Okay, so you just understand what is how they have mentioned web server in host. That is what I'm going to mention. That is explaining right now. So under web server, that is they have created the variable called web servers. Under that they have placed some servers. Okay, servers address. So whenever the playbook got run, when I run this playbook, so it will look for inventory file web servers. Under that, how many web servers are mentioned here. So it will go to this address and it is checks for whether the Apache is installed or not. If it is not installed, the task will get executed. Okay, so became true is nothing but taking the root access followed by tasks. Okay, so what is my name of my task? Installing the Apache. So followed by apt is a tool or the command we use to install Apache in the Ubuntu environment. Okay, so name, that is what application you're going to install, that should be mentioned here, and the state. So if you are installing, it should be state present. If you are uninstalling, it should be state absent. So if you are updating the existing software, it should be latest, like that. Okay, so once it got installed, I need to ensure whether it is running or not. So for that purpose, I'll be using the another task, that is ensure Apache is running. So I'm checking my is my Apache is running or not. Next followed by service. This is the command, that is service Apache to start. So started in the sense it is checking so whether it is started or not. If it is not started, obviously it's going to start by automatically them itself. Okay. So this is the playbook where they going to run. Okay. So you might be wonder, so how do I going to run this playbook? So to run the playbook, so here I am using subsystem thing. Okay. So we have a command to run your playbook, that is Ansible hyphen playbook. So you need to mention where your inventory file is located, so or else we cannot able to achieve that. So why do we require to mention the playbook, sorry, inventory file location means, if you are running the same task on multiple location, so you require to have playbook. So you cannot able to mention all the IP addresses of your 50 machines in line, right? To optimize that, we'll be having the file called inventory. Inside that, we're going to mention, okay, so in what are all the servers the task should be executed. Okay, in my case, that is forward slash mnt forward slash e forward slash gts intern forward slash inventory dot in. So here just I have mentioned the host details, and I need to mention my task where I have written in my YAML file means. Okay, so test dot fine. So now what exactly it's going to do means, so here I have already mentioned. So I am using Ansible playbook. So where is my playbook? Here is my playbook. Okay, so initially it will go and read this playbook. Okay, so it will read this one. It will check for host name. So they have mentioned web server. So it will come to inventory file. From there, it will check for web server variable. So under that, whatever the machines they have defined. So if they have defined two machines means, so Apache server, that is software get installed in these two machines. So if they have mentioned only one address means, so Apache software get installed in this server and which ignores this server. So we know that we going to declare variable and we define pre-value, right? Exactly same way here happening. So here just inside my playbook I have just defined my host as web server. So web server has the value of this one. So that's why the installation configuration take place only in this server, which ignores the installation process in this server since I'm not using this variable. So like that you can make group and you can control the installation and the configuration status also. So or else if you want to have all your irrespective of your group means followed by you just mention all. So on that case, so whatever the task you have written that get executed in all the system, either you can mention here or instead of web servers you can mention all here also. So only while running your playbook. Okay, so you are just using the primary features of Ansible. We are not into provisioning the infrastructure. So we are primary use case, we will just seeing right now primary use case. Okay, so why playbooks are more essential? So playbooks streamline automation, provides an easy way to standardize configuration across the systems. As we just saw, right? So in inventory file, we going to have multiple systems address where it going to provide seamless configuration, eliminate a manual and repetitive tasks. So instead of going to all the machines and installing the same process, I just going to write my playbook and I going to run. So which eliminates manual work and repetitive tasks. Ensure consistency and reduce human error. So if one system got succeeded, obviously the rest system, if we have 100 systems, obviously there won't be any error, and improve efficiency in infrastructure management. Facilitate collaboration and understanding within the teams due to their clear human readable syntax. So if I have written some playbook for doing some task means, if I left that organization, the other persons come into my place. We can able to understand easily. So what exactly I have written. So why should we use that? Okay, that's why the playbook is more essential, mainly for eliminating manual work and repetitive tasks. Okay, so we just come across what is Ansible, why do we require Ansible, and what are the benefit of using the Ansible. That initially we understood. Thereafter, we saw some differences between Ansible as well as Terraform, right? So from there, we saw playbook. So in single playbook, I have written two tasks. One is installing my Apache thing, and another one is ensure it is running or not. So assume that if you want to install Docker or the Kubernetes inside your system, so we would have at least of 50 steps, and we can write it here also. It doesn't mean that writing 50 tasks is not good to see in single playbook that includes the play or the host details to write. So to overcome that, to organize my code, to reach my code easily, okay, we will be using Ansible roles. So in how exactly the Ansible roles is all means, we have a command to create Ansible roles of structure like this. So just by providing a single line command, we can able to create all these on one click. So you don't require to create all these structure format. Okay. So Ansible roles init take cares of all these things. So what is the advantages of using the Ansible role? So Ansible roles are way to organize and reuse Ansible playbooks by grouping related tasks, variables, file, templates, and other resources into the structured format. Okay, so roles makes playbook more modular, maintainable, and scalable, which is particularly valuable in large environment or while deploying the complex applications. Okay, so while deploying complex application means assume that we have some web application which is written in .html and JS format. We going to store in different file location. From there, I need to link there. Everything it's quite complicated, right? To mention each and every path. If somebody is entered to that folder or directory, unfortunately they deleted that resources means it completely damages the rest of the operations. Okay, and it's quite hard to maintain also. If you have stored your task and configuration files and the deployment of your application in different folders or different local disks. Okay, so it's quite hard to we need to locate each and everywhere where it is, and I need to go there. Particularly, I need to manage that. So to overcome all those things, what they have introduced in Ansible, that is roles. So we going to create some roles. Okay, assume that if you are creating some AWS resource means we're just going to mention that AWS role, that is Ansible roles init. Okay, so we going to pass some command to create or to have this structure. So how do exactly the structure and why do we require structure? We going to see all those things. So my role is the convention or the variable name. You can give what you want. Okay, it's not mandatory. So the rest, that is the rest, whatever the subdirectories are created with files are already created. You need not to have anything. Okay, so under task, automatically the main.yaml file will get created. So in main.yaml file, so primary task file means what are the tasks you going to mention there. So those gets placed in this file. That is according to this install Apache, ensure Apache is running. So these two are placed here. Okay, thereafter handlers triggered by task. So we have so in case um, just mention that. So if Apache is not available, on that case, it should call the task.main.yaml file. So automatically it will go there and it will install like that. And the files. So if you have some files to be deployed in your remote server, that is manage node. Okay, so you just keep all those files here and run this role automatically. Whatever the files you have inserted or you have copied into this specific directory, everything get copied to that one. Okay, next is templates. That is ginger to templates. So whatever the things we going to write in for that format itself. So variables means we going to define some variables and we going to, that is a variable we're going to have some predefined value which is associated in the task file. We're going to see in example. Okay, and if you have some default value which doesn't change like that, and the meta information and readme.mpy, that is what are the tasks you are trying to perform and what file contains what and how do we achieve everything, we're going to mention in the readme.mpy. Okay, this is all about Ansible. So we'll see some benefits of using the Ansible rules. Okay, so modularity and reusability. So we're going to divide or break down my whole playbooks into snippet things, and I'm going to place with the respective directory. Okay, so roles allows you to break down complex playbook into smaller. So assume that a playbook containing 500 lines. I'm going to divide, that is break, and I place into different directories based on the mention, that is task, handler, files, main, that is sorry, variables or vars, defaults like that. Okay, reusable units. So you can share, reuse, and even distribute roles within the projects. Okay, so easy to maintain. So if you want to change anything in your variable, so you don't have to visit all these rest of the directories. Just visit variable and update the content. Okay, so consistent structure. The standardized directory structures helps teams to follow the best practice. So assume that by manually if we are creating like this means the naming convention will be completely different. So I will be using some name, some other person will be using some names. So in that case, it will creates complexity in understanding the structure. So to overcome that or to avoid that confusion or the complexity, so Ansible Galaxy role, that is the command, will automatically create the structure by itself. And role dependencies. Roles can be declared dependencies on the other roles in meta, or that is where you wanted to have, which lets you to manage and layer the multiple roles together. This helps to ensure prerequisites are set up before proceeding with the complex configuration. Okay. So we just saw Ansible rules. So to do this, we required Ansible Galaxy and collection. Okay. So we just saw right the Ansible roles, and we're going to see how do we create Ansible role, and so we're going to create the same structure like this, and we'll have some code. So I going to just give a demonstration that how it will look. Okay, so by performing the command, and I already existing, so that is the script I already want that I will going to run and see that one. Okay, so just now, okay, so just ignore everything. I'm taking the root access Ansible icon Galaxy. That is here I am performing the task of creating the roles in Ansible. Okay, so just look here. I have directly called AWS resource testing. Okay, only I want these three directories inside my Ansible directory, that is root directory. So I going to create another role or the directory structure file. Okay, to do or to create that, I will be using the command that is sudo, and sudo is I'm using to, that is I'm taking the root access to my system. Okay, so Ansible Galaxy roles init, that is initialize, followed by Ansible that is tutorial. So it was prompted with my password. So it's throwing some errors. We're going to, okay. So just I mentioned roles. Just I make it. I get that is Ansible Galaxy role init. That is name of my root directory. Okay, so automatically it got created here. Fine. So we'll see that what are the subdirectories are created. So we have a default, files, handlers, meta, task, template, test, variable, and readme.file. So I did not create all these things. Just I named this one and pass the command. So automatically it's create me. It gets all this readily, right? Okay. So just I don't want that. I will be moving out. So that is how we going to create Ansible role by passing the command Ansible Galaxy, that is hyphen Galaxy role init Ansible. Okay. So just what I did is we just created one role, right? So we're going to see. Okay. So I have already created a role. Inside my role, I have just created one thing, that is so I wanted to provisional my AWS account with EC2 instance. That is, here I am trying to create EC2 instance. Okay, so how do you place things? Okay, so I have created the role called EC2. Inside my EC2, I have these defaults directories. Under that, in main, that is tasks. What task I need to perform? So I need to perform the task called start an EC2 instance with public IP address. Okay, so to run your things, we need to have collections to be installed on your local machine. So that we going to see in future classes, or else we just understand what exactly the all the procedures, everything, and thereafter we can able to see the examples one by one. That's looks good problem. So if I just speak something like this, you people won't be able to make it out. Okay. So just understand. We'll go into see what is Ansible Galaxy the collections. So Ansible Galaxy is the community-driven repository. So how the GitHub, the Docker hubs are available like that, the Ansible have the community called Ansible Galaxy. Is a community-driven repository and the marketplace for sharing, discovering, and downloading the Ansible roles. Okay, and collections too. So it provides this central location for Ansible users to find reusable roles. So for example, what exactly they are trying to say means, assume that I have just here written the script for creating the EC2 instance with public IP address, right? So I can upload this, that is EC2 role, into my Ansible Galaxy community. Okay, so from there you can get it installed. Okay, so you can download how exactly we clone our repository into local machine, so that we will be having complete code structure whatever there in our GitHub the repository, right? Likewise, Here also, just by providing the name of my task, I can able to get the roles. So based on the reviews or the readme file, if it is, if that roles match to my requirement, I can download it, I can just run that role, that's all. So you don't require to rewrite everything. Okay, so just download, run it, so that you can able to create your resources, or you can able to configure your application. For that purpose, we will be using the Ansible Galaxy. That is why it is called as community driven repository. Okay, so collections that helps automate infrastructure tasks without starting from scratch. So you don't need to require to have, or you don't need to script it from initially. So if it is available in the repository, you just download it and you just run it. That's all. So Ansible Galaxy, even though if the code is available, but you require to have some slight changes, definitely you can go and modify it and get it. Okay, so Ansible Galaxy is an invaluable resource for expanding the functionality of the Ansible. So it's a huge thing. Okay, so we will going to find different roles or the different collections based on what we are using. Okay, so as it allows user to leverage pre-built solutions for common tasks like installing software, configuring services, managing the cloud infrastructure. So you going to have different things based on your requirement. You just pull it out and make it run. Okay, so we're going to see how exactly the Ansible Galaxy will look and the collection. Okay, what is roles and connection? So I just mentioned the roles right in previous slide. We understand what is role and why do we require it. Again, so roles inside the Ansible Galaxy, we're going to see roles as well as collection both. Okay, so roles, reusable unit of Ansible task organized around the specific configurations. We're going to structurally organize, right? Setting up web servers, managing data like that. Collections. A newer edition of an Ansible Galaxy collections are build bundles of roles. So a new connection will have bundles of roles. So for example, collection in the sense I was mentioning here, right? Amazon.aws.ec2. That is underscore instance. So this is the collection. So I am pulling the code or the words or the variables from here. Okay, that is collections. That is the newer edition of Ansible Galaxy. Collections are bundles of roles, modules, and plugins which provide more extensive functionality and help organize content by namespace. Collections are often used to support large complex workflows across various cloud provider or the third party services. So if you want to interact with any of the third party application outside the Ansible, you need to have Ansible connection in your local machine, or else you won't be able to achieve. Okay, so we'll have some comments. So we just saw, right, Ansible community, it's a kind of a repository, and how we going to pull those things. Okay, so in Git, we will going to use git clone followed by the repo URL. So how do we install Ansible collections or the Ansible role from the cloud? So we do have some commands here. Okay, so Ansible Galaxy, we just saw by creating the role, right? So if you wanted to create your own role, we'll be passing the command Ansible Galaxy install, instead of install, that is role init followed by the name, that is this one, right? That is not role actually. This one. Okay, so Ansible Galaxy role init, name of your root directory or the role. Okay, so to create custom roles, we will be using this one. To download already existing role from the cloud, you will be passing the command like this. So how will we know the name of the role? I going to show you. Okay, so if you want to install your the collections, same name of the collection should be provided. And if you wanted to check what are the list of roles or the collections available in your system, means you just provide the command Ansible Galaxy list. We're going to see that can be able to make out how many list or the connection we want. So what it's saying is just change your things to root, that is dot ansible roles, like that. It's asking us to change the path or the directory or the location, and then check for the, so we'll just try to move there. Okay, and see where it goes. Okay, and to specify. So look at here, we have a collections here. That is, I just switch from root, that is my local directory, to the things. I just change my folder, and here we have collections, right? We'll try to see that can be able to list all those things. No, still we cannot. Okay, so the collections what we're going to download can be able to see here. Okay, cd, so collections is a directory. So inside collection we have Ansible collection. Inside that we do have nothing. So here I have downloaded the collections called Galaxy under cache. Okay, so if some application is, that is in JSON format, somebody has written some script to perform that. Okay, that is the thing. And just zip to, okay. So to remove your any of the collections purely installed or your roles, you can just use that and pass that in. Okay, next is Ansible Galaxy search. So if you want to search anything, you can. So we're going to see the document where we find collections. So okay, so this is the collection. So if you are using Amazon, means you can just install this Amazon connection. How can we install? Come here, let me show you. So this is the version, collection version they want, and they also mention the prerequisites. Okay. So okay, so right now we have come to, that is just come here Ansible community documentation. From there you can locate this one, where reference and appendage. Okay, under that we do have collections. Okay, so inside collections, just click on the collection. You can have this Amazon, or if you want to have Azure, means see Azure collection is available. If you want GCP, we can have Cisco, everything. Okay, so these are the collections. So just copy the name of the collection and move here. So what was the command to install connection? That is Ansible Galaxy install name of my connection. So starting. So it is getting full. So what it's saying, Amazon dot AWS was not installed successfully. Sorry, found on. So it what it exactly saying means already the thing is available. Okay, so it's already available on, was not found on, sorry, galaxy dot ansible dot api, so it's not able to locate from there. We're going to see what an issue. So to install the collection from the Ansible Galaxy community, we have a command that is Ansible Galaxy collection install. So we missed out the name called collection, right? So it's a typo error actually. So we'll include that. So once cross verify and install, and just I provided the name of the collection. So where do we find the name of the collection? Just visit Ansible, that is Ansible Galaxy collection, move into the collections. So just move down into the collections from here. So move this one. Just move to Ansible.com. Don't want this Ansible documentation. Use Ansible collection. Okay, so if we just get in, scroll down, there we can have collection index. Just copy the name of the collections you wanted to have in your local machine. So if you are working on AWS, you just make use of using this one. If you are working on Azure, just install this one. If you are working on GCP, you will have some different one with respect to, that is Google Cloud, that is deprecated removed in 12. Probably will have some other collections which is going to find associated. Okay, so right now we'll be going to have Amazon.AWS in the local machine. See, so nothing to do. All requested collections are already installed. So if you wanted to reinstall them, consider using iPhone 4. So if you wanted to install, like if there might be some any other updates might have been released, means you just passed iPhone force. So again, the process install and dependency map, everything will going to perform from the beginning. So whatever there is something existing is that will get deleted. Okay, so it will take some time. So we just understood that. So what is Ansible? Why do we require Ansible? And major difference between Ansible as well as the Terraform. We understood what is playbook and how it will look. Even I just show you people in with the example also. And we saw Ansible roles, which comes under Ansible Galaxy concept, roles as well as the collection. So I just show you people how you can download the collections from the cloud, or how you can able to create your own role. That is also I've just shown you, right? And what else we saw? We saw some different comments, and we haven't come across the roles, right? Okay. So now we just dive into Ansible Galaxy. So Ansible Galaxy work same as your GitHub or the Docker app. So people, so if you have your own code, you can able to just log in and you can upload it here also. Okay, so upload it in the sense we will have some commands to process that. I'm going to show you. So here they have mentioned the role to install MySQL server. So if you want to have your MySQL server to be installed on your servers, you don't need to write a playbook again. So just copy the, just dive into that. So just move to that is Ansible Galaxy. From there under roles, you just go into the roles. You can search if you wanted to install Kubernetes. We'll see some, if anybody has updated Kubernetes. Yes, somebody has updated the code for installing the Kubernetes. Okay, so you just go there and copy the things and paste it here. So this command will going to install the roles in your local machine. So okay, just we need to write one in, that is a playbook main file. How it going to look means, so like this. So while you are, so you just need to write another file to run your role. So why do we require this YAML file? So I already won this role. So if I want to run means I need to have the playbook to run my role, right? So for that purpose I will be using. So what I am mentioning here, host means A1. That is in my inventory file I have just replaced. So I need to install Kubernetes on this server. So for that purpose, I will just mention A1 here and became to take root access. So I haven't write any task here. Just I have mentioned roles and I will be redirecting, or I will be pointing the task which is located inside my testing. Okay, so from there it will go to testing. So from testing it will look for metadata, that is a task, and it will perform the operation. So whatever I have written here, so exactly instead of testing I will be going to see the name as zogs.ansible k8s, like that. Okay, so this is how you going to download. This is the location where you people can able to find application. So you want to install Docker, just search for Docker. You will going to find Docker configuration file. Just install and run it. That's all. Okay. So we just saw Docker, that is roles. How do we install the configuration and where do we get the configuration file? Inside the Galaxy. That is Ansible Galaxy inside the roles. So this is related to your configuration management system. And when it comes to collection means, if you want to communicate with third party application, for example Amazon, Azure, if you wanted to communicate with your Cisco applications means, to make automation or to do any task, we need to have collections. So inside to collection what would we have? So inside collections we will have these many things. So from these are the modules. So auto scaling, this one EC2 instance, CloudWatch. If you want to see here, if you want to create your EC2 instance, just visit EC2 instance. Okay, so what they are telling means you might already have the collection installed if you are using the Ansible package. So if you are using the Ansible package, you might already have. If it is no, you do. If you do not have means, just get it from Ansible list collection. So check it whether if you have or not. If you do not have to install that, make use of this command. Okay, so we're going to see whether we have this collection inside my system. See here. So these are the collections I want. Okay. So if I do not have this collection, I can install by passing this command. If you don't remember the command, just refer the documentation. So here, if you know how to use Ansible, it's quite simple. Okay. So if you don't know anything, so while the interviewer asks how do you perform, or how do you install the EC2 instance, means you just going to say that I going to refer the Ansible community documentation where I have everything is readily available. I just make use of that resources like that. So what we have solved, EC2 instance IAM model, right? Create or destroy an image using EC2, right? So what are the prerequisites we required? Your local machine should have Python, and the agent will be using in the local system, not in the managed or the remote location. Okay, so this is the Boto 3 or the Boto 4 is the software or the tool. It's an API tool where it going to establish, or we going to use this API to communicate with the AWS. Okay, so for that we need to have Boto 3 to be installed on your local system or the control. Okay, so we will be having some parameters. So if you want, you can learn from here, or you can just scroll down. Here we have code readily available. Okay, so basic IAM creation. So basic IAM creation, registration, creating. Okay, so just assume that without. Okay, we just use IAM, right? So these are the tasks we can perform to do of creating IAM users. We're going to see some other things. Okay, so we'll see that EC2 instance. We don't want to just missed conversation. Okay, so here we have a code to create EC2 instance. So I don't require to write it from the scratch. Just I will refer the Ansible community documentation and what I want to create. So I want to create EC2 instance. So I will dive into the module called EC2 instance module. Create, that is description, create, manage EC2 instance. I will go inside that. I will scroll down. We have a different task. So based on what requirement, you just get it. Okay, so if you want to create an EC2 instance, just copy this and update the required one. So for example, the key name will be different. If you wanted to create in the particular subnet, you just mention the name of the subnet or the ID. If you don't want to create in particular ID or the VPC, you just leave it as it is, or the empty, or comment this line. So on that case, by default it will get created in the default VPC, and the instance type, what instance type, and the security group if you want default, or if you have specified things you can create, and the network interface. Does your instance should have a IP address, public IP address, and what operating system